What's going on, y'all? So today I want to talk about how you can lose belly fat. Every single day of my life as a coach, I get the question, hey Eric, how do I get rid of my belly fat? How do I get rid of this big old gut and these love handles? Well, today I'm going to teach you not only how you can get quick results where you can see noticeable progress in just 1 week or less, but we're also going to talk about the long-term plan so that you can keep this belly fat off forever. All right, so before we dive into the video, I want to go ahead and talk about different types of fat. First, we have subcutaneous fat, which is on the outside, the things like our big old gut, our jelly rolls, our love handles, things that you can pinch and grab. And there's also visceral fat. Visceral fat is what's deep inside and it covers the organs. This is the dangerous type of fat that you don't want. All right, so the first thing that I want to talk about is the quickest way for you to start losing this belly so that you can see noticeable results in under 1 week. And you're probably thinking like, bullshit. You can definitely see a lot of progress and noticeable change in less than 7 days, I can promise that. So the first thing that we want to focus on for short-term belly fat loss is getting rid of your bloat. Let me give you an example. How many of us have ever went on a cheat meal or had a cheat meal? 1,000, 1,500 calorie, 2,000 calorie cheat meal or a long cheat day, and you weigh yourself the next morning and you're up 5 to 7 pounds and you're like, what the hell? Trust me, you can't put on that much fat in 1 day. Pretty much all just bloat and water retention. So I'm gonna teach you a little more about that in just 1 second. Let me get this set in. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about that water retention and bloat so that we can get you noticeable results in your first week. This happens very often, like literally with most of my clients, depending on how much they weigh, right? Because some people are very overweight and some people just have a good 20 or 30 pounds to lose. But depending on how much they weigh, it's not uncommon for me to see my clients lose anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds in their first week with working with me. Oh, that's not healthy. Well, of course, if it was all fat, then that wouldn't be healthy. But what's happening is they're probably losing only 2 to 3 pounds of pure body fat, and then the other 7 pounds is purely losing the bloat and losing that water retention. What happens is they were very undisciplined. They eat out all the time. They eat nothing but canned foods, frozen foods, boxed foods, processed foods, things with a lot of salt, sugar, and they don't monitor their nutrition. But now they come to work with me. I give them foods that make them full, satisfied, but also they're mostly one ingredient foods that will keep the water retention and the bloat away. So that's how we knock that first problem out, and how we're gonna get you noticeable changes in your first week is we have to start paying attention to better, more quality choices of food. Oh yeah, you also want to improve your digestive health, because if you're not pooping at least once a day, that can keep you backed up. All right, so we're gonna dive into part A, and that is nutrition is key. You cannot outwork a bad diet. How many of y'all think that you can just eat whatever you want, you eat like crazy, and then you go figure that you go do a Zumba class, or you go, do all the cardio in the world or lift heavy, that you're just gonna go ahead and get results? It's much easier to be disciplined and be in a calorie deficit, monitor your calories so that you can actually see results. Because let's just say you eat a 1,000 calorie meal and then you're gonna go do your little cardio and burn 300 to 500 calories. Do you think that's ever gonna work out? You think you're ever gonna get ahead? A calorie deficit is eating less than you burn off every single day. So that's the first step you wanna do, is put yourself in a calorie deficit. And the next thing is you wanna pay attention to macros, which is your protein, carbs, and fat. I highly suggest eating a lot of protein. Protein is the most important macro. It's gonna keep you fullest longest, it's gonna keep you satiated, it's gonna help you build lean muscle. The more muscle you have, the more fat you're gonna burn. And then have a balanced or a moderate ratio of carbs to fats. All right, so another tip. Remember, we talked about protein is the most important macronutrient. It's gonna keep you fullest longest, it's gonna keep you satisfied, help you build lean muscle. That's not negotiable. Then you have 2 macros left, carbs and fat. Depending on how big you are, how heavy you are, how much weight you have to lose, this does matter. It's gonna be most beneficial. So if you're somebody who has a lot of weight to lose, you're 250, 300 pounds plus, it might be best for you to go lower carb, so high protein, lower carb. I'm not talking about like keto low, that's just stupid. Like 1 out of 10 people can sustain that for life. And those are the type of people that just like mayo pie for dessert. Like you're not gonna be able to keep that up for life. If you're bigger, do lower carb, but not super low carb. If you're like somebody who has to lose 20, 30 pounds or less, go lower fat and then you can have more carbs. Let's just say we have a 100% pie chart. And let's just say, for example, you have 40% protein, 40% of your calories is making up your protein, you got 60% left. You might want to do another 40% carbs, 20% fat, that's for somebody who only has that 20 to 30 pounds or less to lose. But then someone who's bigger, they might want to do 40% protein and 40% fat, 20% carbs. Does that make sense? All right, so let's go ahead and move into part B, and that's the workouts. Nutrition is most important always. Now we move into what is most important for what kind of workouts you're doing. You gotta be lifting weights. You gotta be doing the heavy compound old school moves. You know, the cardio is last. If you're gonna do any cardio, wait till after you're done lifting weights. Do your heavy weight training, your compound moves, then go in, do your Stairmaster, your treadmill, go for a walk, play basketball, etc. But the more muscle, that should be our focus. The more muscle you build, the more fat you're gonna ultimately burn around the clock. So that has to be your #1 priority when it comes to working out. Lifting with an intention of lifting heavy and putting on some serious muscle. So when you're coming in here to lift, I want you to make sure you're coming here and you're doing the old school compound big boy moves right away. If it's a chest day, you're not over here starting with flies or things like that. You're hitting heavy barbell or dumbbell bench presses. If it's a leg day, you're hitting barbell squats or the leg press. If it's a back day, you're doing deadlifts, heavy rows, or heavy pull-ups or chin-ups. You get what I'm saying? That's what's gonna give you the most bang for your buck and help you build the most muscle fast. For people that are very, very overweight, sure, now we're gonna incorporate cardio with the right type of weight training, right? Because you can't be just doing the, cardio all day. You definitely need the most muscle fast. So what I'm gonna suggest is you do circuit training. Circuit training is where you're basically putting maybe 5 or 6 movements together with no rest, and then you take a break and you repeat. So for example, what I could be doing is I might go on a bench and obviously bench press, and then I might bend over and now hit my back with some heavy rows, and then I might, do some shoulder presses, right? And then you might swing these up again, and then I'll do some squats, right? And then you can grab the appropriate weight, and then you can start doing some curls, right? Then you can just drop that, and then start hitting your triceps. You're doing all the biggest movements that you can do for each body part all in a row without any rest. You should be gassed, especially if you're pushing yourself hard. You take a 60 to 90 second break, you should be huffing and puffing like crazy. Then you repeat that for maybe 3 or 4 more rounds, and that's gonna help you build lots of muscle, but also get fast-paced cardio, and you're gonna burn a hell of calories that way. All right, so let's go ahead and move into part C of your long-term approach for you to lose this belly fat and keep it off forever, and that is you need to find a way to manage your stress and get more sleep. You wanna aim for at least 7 hours of sleep per night, and I get it. You're probably like, Eric, I'm a parent, I have a crazy work hour. I get that. I'm a parent too. I have crazy work hours with my business, but the thing is, I do my very best to find sleep and try to get a good at least 7 hours of sleep per night. It is so important. Give up some of your TV time, some of your recreation time. You gotta find ways to deal with your stress after long days of whatever you're going through. Put the bottle down, put the wine down, put the weed down, and deal with your stress in a positive way with physical exercise. What happens if you have too much stress and you're not sleeping enough? Your cortisol levels are gonna go through the roof. They're meant to spike, but they're not meant to elevate and stay elevated all the time. You know what I'm saying? And it's directly linked to you having more belly fat and causing that belly fat, that visceral fat, that bad fat. Handle your stress, handle your sleep. They did a study before about 2 groups of people. One of the groups had 7 hours of sleep every single night, and then the other group didn't have any sleep at all, just like a couple hours. They were lagging on sleep hardcore. The one that slept, the 7 hours or more, they ended up losing the greater percentage of body fat, and then the group that wasn't getting any sleep, they were losing more muscle than anything. So with that being said, the link between stress and sleep and your physical fitness transformation and goals, it is so, so very important. All right, so now we're gonna move into number 3, and that is you need to make this a lifestyle, but you also need to make this sustainable from day one. A lot of y'all do this, is you'll go ahead and you'll go on a 1,000-calorie diet. Sure, you'll have some immediate success, but then in 2 weeks when you hit a plateau, where can you pull calories from? What can you really do next? And then just overwork yourself and go do more working out. And before you know, you can't keep that up. You're miserable. So for example, when I have clients, my clients actually, most of all of them are like, Coach, I can't eat this much food. This is crazy how I'm still losing weight and you're making me eat all this food. I like to start my clients with a higher amount of calories that still is in a deficit, but in a higher spectrum. And then I like to give them their carbs, higher calories, so that we see how their body adjusts. And then sure enough, they're losing a pound or 2 or sometimes 3 pounds a week. And then once they hit that plateau, I actually have calories to pull from, so we don't have to go do more working out. Does that make sense? A lot of y'all are just coming balls to the wall, working out like crazy, super low calories, super low carbs, that is not sustainable, and that is why you're always miserable. So make sure you put yourself in a calorie deficit, but you treat yourself good and take a little bit of a slower approach. You don't have to have this done by tomorrow. All right, listen, so if you're somebody who's having some problems, some struggles on your fitness journey, maybe you have a lack of knowledge, you have no clue what you should be eating, how much you should be eating, what workouts you should be doing, and you're just stuck and you need some help. Well, I'm Eric Zapata with Eric Zapata Fitness, and I help men build lean muscle and lose fat at the same time in 90 days flat without all of that boring cardio, 3-hour workouts, and complicated diets. So if you're interested in dropping that body fat and building that muscle and you need help yourself, you want structure, simplicity, and all the guesswork taken out for you, go ahead and either find me on Facebook or Instagram at Eric Zapata Fitness and shoot me a direct message with the keyword power, and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. We'll talk about your fitness goals, where you're at, where you want to go, and then we'll see if I could be a potential fit for you to be your coach and help you have a long-term sustainable approach to losing this fat and building muscle. Once again, this is Eric Zapata with Eric Zapata Fitness, and I'll see you in the next video.